we've sat with them in the past few weeks, and I know not everyone would have had a chance to take a look at the videos that we've put together, but I think it would be great to have them introduce themselves, tell us about your journey so far, how you've supported women, and everything. So, Ifeoma, you want to go first?
Okay, so let me go first. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Ifeoma. I run a company called Shicluded. Shicluded is a female-focused finance and capacity building company. So we provide access to finance up to $50,000, and we provide education for women entrepreneurs. We've worked with people like GIZ, CFYE, the U.S. Department of State, just different private sectors and DFIs to be able to provide gender-centric capacity building for women entrepreneurs. And we also have a co-work space in Lekki. So how did I start? My journey to Shicluded started when I was working in seed funds. So I started my career as a strategy consultant. PwC, worked in tech companies that raised money, and I started working in a seed company. And very, very quickly, I noticed that I was sitting as the CEO of a fund, and I did not see any proposal or any pitch deck from a woman. And all the money were going to men. My first assumption is that men were smarter. But when I saw most of them, those days of Sambuta, before Jumia, was anybody there playing then in that space? Okay, super. So I saw most of them lose $1 million in 6 months. And I just felt statistically, if 50% of the population are women and 90% of the startups end up failing, and yes, you know what a startup is? The failure rate is 90%. It means that statistically, we've not tested the female database to say if they are good finance or they are bad finance. And with a background in mathematics, first and second degree, I felt it was something I wanted to test. And that's why I started Shicluded. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. All right, Dr. Glory?
What have you found?
Oh, okay.
So very quickly, what have I found? That's very insightful. I found that some of the problems to access to finance are both parties are very, very guilty. The women are guilty for not providing the requirement that the bank wants, the way the bank wants it. The banks are guilty for not changing their system to fit women. But then again, the traditional financial system was designed at a time where women were not key players. So they didn't expect that one day you guys will have money and want a seat on the table. Since we started, we've also disbursed over $5 billion to women entrepreneurs. We've been able to structure who we want to serve. I mean, when we started with a blanket to say we want to serve all women. I think I was particularly interested in low-income women and stay-at-home mom. Then I realized that, wait a minute, I'm going to lose all my money. And I quickly started pivoting. And I noticed that there's a group called the missing middle. These are women who have built something. They have, survival is not what they are thinking about. And if you give them money and give them enough education, they can employ, the ripple effect can be longer than others. So I will share more during the panel. So.
All right, thank you so much, Ifeoma. Dr. Glory?
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Gloria Dozian. I'm a visibility and thought leadership expert, and my focus is on helping female executives build visibility and thought leadership so they can attract key leadership roles. But I'm also very interested in building the pipeline of female talents across Africa, and I'll explain how I'm doing that in a bit. So I run 9 to 5 Chick, which is a community focused on early career women and women who are seeking to enter mid-level management or actually thrive in middle management. I also run Ascent Club, which is a community of mid to senior female executives who are seeking board roles. So that's sort of the pipeline there. How did I get involved in visibility? My background is actually in climate change, and there was a time in my life I wanted to become a UN guru, going around, doing consulting, and all of that, and that was my dream. And then I remember my first job, I worked at the Environment Agency in the UK, and I was in the Estates Department. And in that department, they hired somebody else who, in my mind, I felt I could do her job. But, that's my opinion. And they were giving her some training. So on this day, I realized, I just looked at the training manual. I was like, this is really interesting. I'd love to be part of the training. And so I went to meet my boss and I told him, and he said, sure, you join, her name was Gemma, join Gemma. And the next day I got to work super early, did all my work, got ready to get into this room with Gemma. I got into the room, the training started, and my boss came in and he said, whatever you do, he said to the trainer out loud, not whispering, whatever you do, please concentrate on Gemma because this training is for Gemma. And I realized that there was nothing I would do in that department that would make me advance in my career. Even if he came in and saw me walking upside down, I would still remain in that position. And up until then, all I had done was I would get to work in the morning and do my work because I thought hard work would speak for itself. And that was the day I realized the only thing that has a mouth is me. And if I'm going to change my career, I need to advocate for myself. So I started doing just that, going from department to department, building relationships, meeting people, being visible, telling people about the opportunities I wanted. And within 3 months, I changed departments, and that is how I really started on my career journey. So that's why I think visibility is a missing link women are missing in their leadership story.
Thank you so much, Dr. Glory. It's really amazing, really, to hear both of you's journeys. I mean, during the interview, when we had the conversation, there were so many things, you shared about, how you've supported women, women who are looking to get on board, women entrepreneurs who are looking to get funding. So for, women like you, but before I get to my question, actually, I was told that Chioma Ude is also online. I don't know if she can hear me. Media? No. Okay. All right. Awesome. So let's just go into the question. All right. So for me, I think my first question would be, looking at your journey so far, especially for both of you, what responsibility the women, like you who have reached positions of influence have in intentionally opening doors for the younger generation, like me? What responsibility do women like you, who have gotten to that level of influence, what responsibility do you have in intentionally opening doors, especially for the younger generation of women that are coming?
Okay, I get the question. So here's the thing. I was at a Channel's interview the other day, and they asked me this question: do women support women? So let me throw it open. Do women support women? Yes. Why is there this notion that women don't support women? I really don't understand it. I think women are fantastic.
I think we don't talk about it enough. We don't promote it enough. So the tendency to believe that women don't support women, that voice is higher than what's actually happening.
Okay, she has a contrary opinion. Please go ahead.
So I have a contrary opinion. I feel that, so let me give you an instance. I went to a program at the Netherlands consulate. I met this guy, I talked to him, and he says, oh, what do you do? And I gave him my card. And he says, he gave me his card, and he's somebody very high in FCMB. He says, okay, do me an email. We're doing something on women. And I did him an email, not expecting. I'm introverted, I don't like going out, I have 4 daughters. And he responded and put 2 people in the emails. And the next thing, I got a contract to do a job, and he gave me money. But after then, he handed me over to the women. We've been hugging, going out, having lunch. Money has not crossed. So, I intentionally believe, I'm telling you the truth, as in I started paying attention to the fact that I noticed that women love the emotions of relationship. But the transaction for relationship, they want you to earn it. This guy, I've never talked to him since then. No. The women I go out, we even share Christmas gifts every year. So it's very, very quickly that our relationship needs to also have a transaction bit that is not because that's how you build allies. Tomorrow, if this guy is doing anything, I'm sure he doesn't even know what he did for me. I'm going to stand by him. Do you understand?
I think that's an unfortunate example. I would say, because in my experience is that a lot of my first contracts were actually given to me by women, and yes, until exactly. Now, so yes. I know we've had. I know this story. I know this story. I know this story. But I don't think that because they haven't done that. Anyway, we are straying from her question. We'll come back to this. But to answer the question, I think that our responsibility is to advocate for other women, right?
Yeah.
So my company, we do two things. We run Top 100 Career Women in Africa list, and it's in the 6th year. And every year we come out and we do ads and ask women across Africa, career women, to nominate themselves. And it is a very painstaking process getting women, and so it's women who have 15 plus years of experience. So they fall within that millennial category, right?
Yeah.
3 weeks in, we have 200 nominations, right? Not a significant number. And then we started this thing this year, asking women below the age of 35 to nominate themselves for the next gen list. In 1 week, we had over 1,000 nominations. Now, what is the difference? Millennials, we were told empty barrels make the most noise. The younger women have seen that it is not by doing the work, you have to talk about the work. So what should millennial women do for Gen Zs? Because the criticism there is now, okay, but they are talking, but what is the substance? So it's mentorship and it's a sponsorship. It is not ignoring that generation. It is saying to them, okay, let me show you how to do this. Let me show you how to actually add the substance. Not saying they don't have substance, but for the ones that may want more substance, how to add the substance, how to advocate for them and also sponsor them. Yeah. So that's what I would say.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Glory, for that. I mean, when we see young women, right, there's so many Gen Z women, right, out there, we call them Gen Z, but they're doing so many amazing things, doing multiple activities, just trying to, put themselves out there. So I do love the fact that, advocating and women supporting women is something that is super important. Ifeoma, about you? What responsibility the women of influence, like you were built over the years, that can help unlock for the next generation?
I think for my work with women and just sitting down and sometimes putting my lens as a gender coach, one is truth. We owe them the truth. There's been so many lies, facade, fantasy that your mother has hidden from you. And that's why you're like this. Very, very quickly, when you're talking to them, I'm telling you the truth. I mean, I hate the fact that if you know me, I'm like, not that girl. And I feel like for my role, I feel that I'm a steward for the work that I'm doing. So it's very, very important to me that I make changes. My goal is to be able to change the life of 1 million women before I die. So very, very quickly, one thing, truth. Like, tell them the truth. There's so much going around on social media, so much misconception that we got. Don't pass it forward. Somebody's coming saying, I have a hard time. My relationships are not working. Blah, blah, blah. I'm 40. Is this guy good? I say, make a business decision. It's a business decision. Make a business decision. What would you want in the next 10 years? We don't have that time. So that's one truth. Another thing that I feel that we owe to the younger generation is also like what Glory says, sort of like direction. I think we're fortunate. Say I'm millennial, right? We're fortunate to be at a time when the world was not this crazy. So people had time. I remember being an associate in PwC. People had time to look at you and teach you. These days, that doesn't happen again. I mean, remote work, so many things, toxic, mental health. These people are left without guidance. As in, we started implementing a project to create jobs for 3,000 women with the Netherlands government. And that was the first time I was interacting with women between 21 to just 18 to 35, especially like less than 30. And I realized that we had it easy. So being able to consciously, like everyone in this room should consciously see themselves as a mentor and be able to help people direct their path. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ifeoma. Thank you so much. So I'm to piggyback on your story, as regards, having to change departments on, then bringing someone on, and you, of course, having to advocate for yourself at that time. Right now, what patterns would you say that you've seen, that women, that is holding women back, right? In ensuring that, they make those changes, they make those moves, they put themselves, where they need to be. What patterns have you seen that is holding them back? And of course, how can women, begin to make that out, shift that?
How long do we have? No. Okay, so I think the fundamental pattern is this idea that hard work will translate into influence automatically. Just put your head down and do the work and it will come. That is one pattern that I think really holds women back, because you get to a certain level in your career, you've worked hard, and then you are waiting for the work to speak, and the work is silent because you are, So that's the first thing. The second thing I see is this idea of value. Women, for some reason, this imposter syndrome just really attacks us, and we are unable to see our value or communicate our value. And I think fundamentally underneath that is something I've termed professional amnesia. As women, we forget the things that we've done. We forget the amazing thing. We forget just how great we are at the work we do, and we don't know. And so because we don't know how to communicate it, we forget about it. The third thing is we don't understand, and this goes back to Ifoma's story, the thing around strategic relationships, and I don't want to use the word transactional because I feel like if I use that word, I may be misunderstood. But that transactional relationships are actually fine, and from there you can build other layers, right? So understanding the need for a sponsor, a mentor, an advocate, and just being strategic around how you engage with power. I feel like, when we're having this International Women's Day conversation, I see that we are stuck at the representation level. How many women do we have on boards? Oh, okay, No, but how many women actually have the power to make the decisions? And that is fundamentally where we should be at this conversation. So we have women on boards, but they are in committees that are not in strategy, right? That are not moving the needle. You have women now in more sort of staff roles. So HR, ESG, those are important roles, but those are not P&L roles that typically lead to C-suite and CEO opportunities, as well as board opportunities. So I think fundamentally it's understanding how to engage, not understanding rather, how to engage with power, believing that hard work, every women's conference I go to, women, we must work 5 times as hard. I'm thinking, okay, where does the strategy come in, right? We're not talking enough about that.
Thank you so much, Dr. Glory. What you said also is very similar to one of our Spotlight honorees, Morenike, who also mentioned how we need to ensure that women are in more leadership positions where they can help other women, climb up the career ladder, be in those C-suite conversations, be in those C-suite rooms.
So can I just add?
Yeah.
So it's also the type of leadership positions.
Absolutely.
We need more women with P&L responsibility. People that can actually, that are signing the check, not, and those other positions, chief HR, they are all important. Yeah. But if you look at global statistics, we have 76% of CHROs are women. And then how many, yes. Well, that's another issue, right?
Yeah, because we need to recruit more women. Yes. They'll get the opportunity to be able to do the work, climb the ladder, get the opportunities, get access to the mentors and all of that. But yeah, thank you so much. Ifeoma, from your journey, you've been supporting women entrepreneurs. You said you've given over 5 billion, in funding to these women entrepreneurs. But what structural barriers do you still see women facing, especially when they're trying to scale their businesses? Women who maybe, they've been 2 years in business, 3 years in business, they're at that point where they're looking to get to the next level, scale to the growth level. What barriers do they still face, even with all these activities that happen, even in IWD month?
Okay, so I like to always remember that women is not an homogeneous block, and women entrepreneurs is not an homogeneous block. In there are different cadres. So let me start from those at the bottom of the pyramid, like the beginners. I noticed that very, very quickly, women start entrepreneurship from what they have, and from what they have. That mindset to entrepreneurship is not scalable. So for us at Shiklude, what we've tried to do is to encourage women to start entrepreneurship from what amount of money do you want to make. So changing the conversation from what do you have to what amount of money do you want to make changes everything. Because it stretches you and stretches you to say, where is the money, and can this business that I think I have the passion, whether it's whatever, can it get there? And how do I position to get there fast? For women at the mid-level, I think that the support they need is coaching. I was fortunate enough, I've done so many accelerators in the US, and for some of them, I had coaches that were like millionaire coaches, and I saw the difference that it made. I can remember one of them during the coaching session. I don't know if we have time. During the coaching session, she did something very remarkable for me. She said, imagine that your life is a book. How old are you? I said I was 39 at the time. She said, divide it into 8. Imagine their chapters. Now close your eyes and give each chapter a name based on what you can remember happened there. And I did. And we talked about each chapter. And she said something. She said, now you're in chapter 9. What is going to happen here? Write it down. And that was the first time. That simple coaching experience changed the trajectory of my life. I wrote No Average Life. I wrote I was going to write a book called Ifoma. And no matter what happens, and who is with me, whether my children, whatever, that book, I want to die and be happy that I wrote a book that I was proud of. So intentional coaching breaks the barriers in your mind in a way that you cannot assess. And those barriers unlock so many things. I mean, after those barriers, we raised 500,000 euros, we begin to raise. And then it gave me permission. I felt like somebody gave me permission to say, be yourself, write this book. This book is for you. So adding the other things like just coaching yourself also comes with teaching you that more money is very important too. The key success factor of a business is money everywhere. So learning how to interact. I went for a program and it says, learn how to have a relationship with capital. There's a reason why all the rich men know the bank managers. If I ask women entrepreneurs, which bank manager know you? Have a relation. There's some people that maybe end of the year, they bring gifts for me. I know that it's not that they like me because they don't say it. But guess what? Sometimes they call me up and say, hey, I have an LP, it's 100 million. I need it in 2 days. And these are the things that the guys know. So have a very close relationship with capital. Let them like you, let them know you, and then be prepared. Most of the things in your business as regards finance, the numbers, you don't know it. There should be somebody on your team that know it. Know that the men, when they come out and say, how much do you make? Laughing and say, I think about it is wrong. It's better you call a rubbish number and just look confident, but it's better that you know it. So knowing that there is a look to show that this person means business, and knowing that this whole conversation about women will not change that look. You need to go and become the ideal. A finance person sees you and they want you because that person exists, and so many women are modeling themselves today and they're getting the financing they need. Then lastly, I think what I said in the group, women need to want to be rich, not want to look rich, like want to be rich. I work with a number of women entrepreneurs, and some of them are creative. When they come in, I'm like, man, this is... And by the time I'm like, these things are not making sense. And they're like, my sector, your sector, you can wear anything. I say, yes, but you can't be like this. There's an old person inside of you that is waiting for you now to make the right decision for you. Most of us here are like, over 30. Your children, this generation, they're not bringing them up to train you. You'll be hungry and old if you don't plan for yourself. So being very intentional to invest for your old self is why you should be rich. Thank you. If not, you'll not be able to afford summer again.
Let's give our panelists a round of applause, guys. I love the aspect of women wanting to be rich. It's super, super important. So I guess to wrap the conversation up, we've talked about, women supporting women, and of course we have majority of women in the room. If everyone here made a decision to leave here today to do something, for the next woman, what would you encourage that to be?
I would say 2 things. The first is, before we do something for the next woman, can we do something for ourselves? And the thing that we need to do for ourselves is actually own our own value, right? Be clear on the value you add. I talk to career women all the time, and they are very busy doing excellent work, but when you ask them, how does the work you do communicate it at the enterprise level? How does it shift the organization forward? And all of a sudden, people are stuttering because we're not clear. I'm clear on what I'm doing at my desk, but how does it actually push the organization? What is the enterprise level conversation I should be having in terms of interpreting what I do? And people are stuck. So that's the first thing. Be clear on your own value. The second thing, which we haven't touched today, is we need to teach the younger women how to negotiate. I find that women, when it comes to negotiation, and this links back, that was in my mind because of what Ifeoma said around women wanting to be rich. I think women, we leave too much money on the table. And I recall a story one time with my dad. I was pitching for an opportunity, and I was telling my dad about, how much I was going to ask for. And he said, you can't be serious, Glory. And I said, Daddy. And he was like, he asked me to ask for 16 times. 16 times. And I literally told him, I said, Daddy, I don't have the liver for that. And he said, then you're not serious, because anybody that wants you to do this amount of work for this amount of money doesn't understand the value that you are bringing. And so I went back and I thought to myself, Glory, if you're going to ask for this kind of money, how will you show up? So I sat down and I redid my whole deck, did everything, and I went for this meeting. And after all that was said and done, they just asked for a 10% discount. Yes. So, if we're going to teach the next generation of women anything, it is how to understand our value and how to negotiate that value.
Thank you so much. If every woman should leave here, this room today, and to know they'll do one thing to support the next woman, what would that be? What would you encourage that to be?
I think show her the money. Some of you, the opportunity. I know that, there's this, everybody don't share too much. As in some opportunity, even it's not in your sector, but somebody's in somebody else's sector. Do you understand? Like, make allies. Stronger allies are based on something. If you see Femi and Dangote hugging, it's not just they like each other. It's that there is like women's allies sometimes, just by watching, I notice it's emotional. That's why when something happens, they just break off. When there's money transaction has happened, you know that this person has done this for me. This person wrote my name for a deal that brought money. No matter even if this thing, you just say, we are sisters. See, so I think that's my advice. Please, open more doors. Sometimes the door you might not be qualified to go in, but the next person, just consciously do it. And I think from my work as Shiklude, what I've noticed, there's some gates that opened for me. And it was because intentional, babe, I can open door for you and you prosper and I don't prosper. That's okay for me. But I noticed that life has a way of paying you back. You need to believe that good things come back because they do. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, that brings us to the end of our conversation. Thank you so much, Dr. Gloria and Ifeoma, for joining us today and for being a part of the spotlight. Thank you so much.